Hey, what's happening? This is Fatherhood Friday. Thank you so much for tuning in. I got a quick question for you. Do you remember when we were younger and we used to play in the woods, or we used to ride bikes, or we used to play tackle football in the street or in the park? Do you remember that? Man, well, that right there is called a play-based childhood. And I don't know about you, but we're living in a day and age where a play-based childhood is almost extinct. It almost doesn't exist anymore. It's replaced now with this thing called a phone-based childhood. And it's really unfortunate because there are a lot of perks, there are a lot of advantages to having a play-based childhood. And number one, you get to interact with people face to face. There's conflict, there's fun, there's laughs, there's connections being made, right? You're learning how to engage with others. You're learning social competencies. You're learning some of the skills that are going to carry with you are going to be carried with you for the rest of your life. And in exchange of that right now, a lot of young people are experiencing social networks through a screen, through their phone, right? They're on social media, they're surfing the web, they have basically a Swiss Army knife, a digital Swiss Army knife in their pocket. And it's hurting and it's harming a lot of young people. So I've been reading this book, and the book is titled The Anxious Generation. And I share this with you, my fathers. I share this with you today because it's major, it's significant, it's something that is taking our society by storm, and I don't think it's getting enough like news, media coverage, whatever you want to call it. It's not getting enough airtime. And when I talk about this phone-based childhood, a lot of young people are experiencing higher levels of depression, of anxiety. Suicide rates are increasing. Emergency psychiatric visits are increasing. Self-harm is increasing because our kids are so tied up to these and so connected to these. So as I'm reading this book, The Anxious Generation, I'm reading about stories of young people and families who are struggling with trying to separate their phones from their young people. So I'm trying to be proactive in this video. I want to be proactive to you, Dad, because I want to see you and I want to see your family thrive. We need to have healthy guidelines and healthy boundaries when it comes to technology in our young people. All right. When we were young, we didn't have smartphones to distract us. Now, on any given day, you're checking your phone subconsciously, unconsciously, hundreds and hundreds of times, right? And our young people, probably even more. The statistic around the amount of time an average user, average young person uses their smartphone or is on social media on their smartphone is around 4 hours a day, right? It's harming our young people. And as fathers, we just need to be proactive. We need to be vigilant. We need to set parameters. We need to set boundaries with our young people. We need to be aware of what they're surfing. A lot of young boys not only are playing video games on their screens, but a lot of them are looking up pornography a lot of the time, right? Young ladies, they're on social media nonstop and they're comparing themselves to others, which is harming their self-confidence, it's harming their self-esteem. It's causing them to harm themselves because they may not think that they're worthy, right? There's so much that I can cover from what I've read in this book, but what I want to really stress, what I really want to stress in this video is to make sure, and it may not feel right, it may hurt. I made a video on this just a couple weeks ago about how I don't feel good when I take my kids to school because they're crying their tails off, but I feel good about the ROI on that, right? When I drop them off at school, yes, it doesn't feel good having them tug on you because they don't want you to leave, but I feel good because they're getting an education. They're learning how to socialize with other young people. they're growing, they're learning, they're developing, right? And the same thing in regards to social media at home. We need to we got to make those tough decisions. We got to put those tough guidelines in place so that we can protect our kids, so that we can make sure that they grow and that they develop and they learn in the right manner. And it's not just in America either. Let me just put that out there. It's not just in America either. So if you're a father and you're listening to this, you're reading this, you're watching this, please be mindful of your child's screen time. Be mindful of your screen time in front of your child. Give them a healthy dose of technology. It's inevitable because that's where we're headed as a society. But be conscious, especially in the ages of puberty, especially early on in early childhood. Those are probably the most impressionable years young people have, is when they're first born, those first, 6-7 years. And in that time of puberty, when you're trying to figure out now your identity and where you are in the pecking order and your social interactions, and that time in your life is super important. So I just say, fathers, be vigilant, be aware, be mindful of what your children are doing, especially when it comes to screens, because they're very detrimental to a play-based childhood that myself and I'm sure you watching experienced when we were younger, and how beneficial it was for us, and how it built resiliency, and how it built confidence, and how it built just grit in us, right? And how to interact with other people, right? That's why I love sports. That's why I'm an athletic director. I love sports for that reason. So I don't want to go off on no tangent. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Fatherhood Friday. If you're into this type of stuff, like, follow, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Peace.